Greetings! In today's video, I want to try and set up a small gouache palette based on Sadie's own tiny gouache palette. When I saw Sadie's video, I recognized the brand of makeup palettes she used and I knew they were available here too. So I told myself I would check at the store next time I visit. When I went, I found a small palette, though larger than Sadie's, and decided to buy it so I could turn it into a gouache palette. What sold me on this one is that it didn't have any metal pans in its tray. It's all plastic. I wanted plastic because I've had bad experiences with metal pans corroding the paint. I figured I would also try and use the discarded makeup from the palette to see if it can be turned into watercolor paint. I've seen that idea around and I was curious about it. I've previously used loose powder eyeshadow to make paints, just for fun, but never compact powder. I removed all the makeup from the palette and mixed it up with distilled water, gum arabic, and a bit of rubbing alcohol. I used the back of my glass slab for this, as I find that mica paints don't benefit from being molded as a regular pigment would. So I mixed, then swatched the paint, then mixed some more. The paint was not ideal, it's quite striky and rubs off too much for my liking. I added synthetic oxgold to try and smooth it out, as well as more gum arabic. More mixing, more swatching, but still, the paint wasn't that nice. I didn't want to sink too much materials and effort into this, since I think that the compact formula possibly has ingredients in it that don't help with making this into a paint. I put the mixture into a container, set it aside, and moved on to clean the palette. Even that was a bit more complex, and I went to the sink to wash the palette. I also managed to separate the tray from the base, which made cleaning easier. The tray has small holes in it, so I patched them up with washi tape. The final and possibly most fun part of all this was to figure out which colors of gouache I wanted to put in this palette. I reached for my bin of gouache tubes and decided to use either M. Graham or Holbein paints in this palette. These paints tend to dry less crumbly than other brands, which is why I chose them. I also referenced my paint charts to help me figure out which colors I wanted. After a bit of thinking, I ended up picking these colors for the palette. From M. Graham, I chose Azo Yellow, Gamboge, Quinacridone Rose, Naphthol Red, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, and Titanium White. From Holbein, I chose Smalt Blue, Burnt Umber, Lilac, and Opera. I had other studio things to do, so I will be splitting this video in two, and I will work on a second video, where I try out the palette on some paintings. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, bye bye.